All right. Hi, Vivian. How are you today?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm good. So today we're meeting to discuss your results on Beck's anxiety inventory.
Hmm.
So we discussed in our last session that the main issue that kind of brought you to therapy is anxiety. However, you kind of struggle putting it into words, and you also have never been to counseling before. Does that sound about right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so then we decided that Beck's anxiety inventory would be a good place to start, because it kind of would be like maybe helpful in talking about what you're experiencing and just kind of getting that conversation going. Does that sound correct?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Awesome. So before we go over the results, I just want to emphasize that the results of this assessment are not absolute or certain. We will look at the results together as like tentative, and then they'll help us move forward in the counseling process. Does that sound good?
Hmm. Yeah.
All right. So you took Beck's anxiety inventory, which is a self-report instrument, and then you emailed me your results. And so the instrument's aim is to assess like your level of anxiety, and then kind of like we can use it as a way to monitor your progress through treatment. So for instance, if you take this same assessment again in like a month from now, we would hope that your score would be lower, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, great. Okay. So fortunately, this assessment has been tested and shown to work on a variety of populations. So, and it's been used for a while. It was established in 1993. So we're pretty confident in the reliability and validity of the results, which just means that we're confident that we're actually measuring the symptoms of your anxiety as opposed to measuring something like, I don't know, like schizophrenia or something, but we're measuring anxiety. Um, so does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. So it's just an assessment to just measure my anxiety level.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and so it's, I think it's important to note though that like, and you probably noticed this when taking the assessment, that it measures primarily physical symptoms. So just kind of like, are you having like hot and cold sweats, or are you feeling numb and stuff like that? And we kind of miss a little bit of that like thinking, like how you're like the cognitive aspect of your anxiety. um and I just think that's important to consider before we like talk about your results. Does that kind of make sense?
Hmm. Yeah.
All right. um and then I just wanted to ask, like, how was the process of taking the instrument? Like, how was it for you?
I thought it was really straightforward in terms of just filling out like the scaling of like the 0 to 4.
Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like it was like pretty self-explanatory in terms of what they were asking.
Yeah. So there wasn't like any like questions you were confused on or anything?
Yeah, not really. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Um, can you think of any other questions you might have for me before we talk about your results?
Um, I think. I think I did wish that it um asked, I think, more cognitive, like related questions,
Mhm.
and because I think like those more physical symptoms weren't as like prevalent um to me.
Mhm.
Mm. So I just wish that it did ask those questions, but
Yeah, definitely. I think moving forward, we should look into another instrument that like more so measures those types of aspects of anxiety,
mm.
just because that is more like like you said, prevalent to you.
Hmm.
All right. Well, moving forward, if you don't have anything else to say, let's just talk about the results that we have from this assessment. Is that all right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So you scored an 18, and so the scores of Beck's instrument can actually be interpreted in multiple different ways, which kind of makes it a little confusing. So just stop me anytime if you have any questions.
Okay.
Um, so first, there's a score of 0 to 21, which indicates low anxiety, then 22 to 35, which indicates moderate, and then 36 or above, which is like concerningly high levels of anxiety. And according to that scoring interpretation, you have low anxiety, but you're on like a little towards the high end of the low anxiety range. Does that make sense? So it's like, because it's 0 to 21 and you felt 18, so it's kind of close to
Mm.
22, which is moderate.
Yeah.
However, there's also a little more specific scoring interpretation, which is like 0 to 7 being minimal anxiety, 8 to 15 being mild, and then 16 to 25 being moderate. And then 26 to 63 being severe. So according to this, your results fall into the like low end of the moderate anxiety range.
Hmm.
That makes sense?
Okay. So I'm on the lower end of
The
low high end of anxiety, or
So it goes from minimal, mild, moderate to severe, and then you're in the low end of the moderate. So you're like kind of in between mild and moderate anxiety, according to
okay.
this assessment. But it's also split into two factors of anxiety. So, like, one being physical symptoms, which is like I talked about previously, like that numbness or like the hot and cold sweats. And then the others is that subjective affective panic symptoms. So, this kind of means like those feelings of nervousness and losing control. So, the assessment tries to a little bit of like how you're feeling like internally and not all physical. So those two differences kind of make sense.
Mm, kind
Like
yeah.
like the difference between like your anxiety makes you like shake or you get like hot sweats versus your anxiety makes you nervous or you have like you feel scared or have this feeling of losing control. So it's like physical sensations versus like these like negative kind of feelings.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, so you scored higher on this like the internal like feeling dimension. So this kind of means your anxiety is more related to like your personal evaluation of your emotions, your moods, and
Mm.
your feelings, as opposed to solely physical symptoms, which is kind of already like what you said.
Yeah. Okay. That
Yeah,
makes. Uh,
yeah. Um, and I noticed too, just like looking through the assessment, that you scored highest on feelings of nervousness, losing control, and like being scared.
mm.
And I was just wondering if you could tell me a little more about what those things mean to you, just so I can try and understand.
Yeah. I think, in just in general, I think I prefer to have like a sense of control over, I guess, everything
Mhm.
emotional wise. So I think sometimes I do like, I think I get feel like nervous or like anxious if I feel like I don't have like a sense of control
Yeah,
in some, yeah, in a situation. Yeah.
definitely. You want to feel like you're able to like predict, like you want to like be able to predict how the situation's going to end and like be able to control the outcome in a way,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I understand that definitely. um yeah, so like just starting with questions like that was kind of like the point of this assessment, just so we can kind of dig more into that experience that you're having, and so I can just better understand like how this feels, because like someone's feeling of nervousness is completely different than someone else's, and so just like trying to understand this. And I just want to emphasize again that this assessment is a very, very small piece of like you as a whole person. And maybe like an analogy would be like this assessment is one piece, if that, of like a 100,000 piece puzzle that is you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. So
So like,
it's not gonna like um define me or something.
yeah, it just kind of helps us look into like, oh, like it looks like your anxiety is more kind of involved with thinking, so now we can kind of focus more on that like thinking type of dwelling, and like how you said like you like to have control over situations. And so given this information from the assessment, like moving forward, maybe we can explore how to decrease your feelings of fear of like losing control, or how we can explore like your experience of being scared and steps to like prevent or like decrease that when it's happening.
Mm.
Do you like that idea?
Yeah, yeah. I think that sounds like a good place to start.
Yeah, me too. Okay, good. Yeah, so do you have any other questions for me about your results?
Um, Not necessarily. No, not right now, at least. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And so just given what you said during this session, just moving forward, we should focus more on like those thinking aspects of your anxiety as opposed to the physical aspects. And maybe we can look into another assessment if you like that.
Yeah. I think that would be like beneficial to know more too about my anxiety too.
Okay, great. Awesome. Well, thanks, Vivian, and I will see you next week.
Sounds good. Thank you.